Hey, how's it going? If you're new here, my name is Jan and I love makeup. And if you're not new, thanks for coming back. I really appreciate you. Today's video is a spin-off from an idea that I got from one of my new friends. So it's basically a face, makeup, and brush 101 video. What to use, where, how, all the things. Hopefully this video comes across as helpful and entertaining and not condescending and oogie and know-it-all-ish, because I definitely don't want to be that guy. Let me just say real quick, if you're not subscribed to my channel already, now's a great time to do that. I upload 4 videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. If you click on the little bell and choose all, YouTube will notify you when I upload a new video. You can choose to watch it or not, totally up to you, no pressure. Either way, I appreciate you hanging out with me today. Okay, we're gonna get right into it. My eyes are done and my foundation and concealer are on. That's all I've done. I wanted to do all the rest of it with you on camera. So let's go. Okay, so like I said, this video is going to be all about face products and brushes, like a face makeup / tools 101. So obviously my foundation and concealer are done. My eyes are done, because that's another video already up. If you want to go check that out, I will link it below. Okay, my concealer is the KBD Good Apple Concealer. I've lost a bit of my tan, so I've had to mix these two shades together to get a fairly close match. My foundation, also a touch too dark now that I've lost some color. It's been raining here, which, I mean, it feels like it's been raining for months. I think that might be an exaggeration, but that's how it feels. Anyway, so my foundation is new to me and I am loving it so much. So I wanted to share it with you. It's the NARS Soft Matte Complete Foundation in the shade Aruba Medium 6. Boy howdy, if you are an oily skin girl or boy and like a soft matte finish, this is excellent. This is the second time I'm wearing it. The first time I forgot to pay attention, because once I do my makeup, that's it. I'm usually outie. I don't look in the mirror again until I've washed everything off at the end of the day. But I don't remember seeing anything that would have made me go, oh, oi. Usually I get oily during the day, and I probably did a little bit, but not enough where I was like, ew, you should have done something about that hours ago. So I don't know, I'll keep you updated on this. I really, really like it. Enough about what we're not talking about today. Once my concealer and foundation are on, I always go in with a setting / finishing powder. You may have heard me mention this particular powder a time or two. If not, it's the Nakia Joy Cosmetics Velvet Finishing Powder. In my opinion, this is the best powder on the planet. I love this. I try to talk all of my friends and family into using it if they are powder users. I think it's amazing. It comes in a pressed version, a loose version, and both scented and unscented. I like the scented. I think it's yummy, but not everybody does. Anyway, I highly recommend this. I never hear anyone talking about this except Nakia, and this powder is absolutely phenomenal. And since I've been sitting here yammering for a minute, I'm just going to pat over where I put concealer to make sure it hasn't creased before I start using powder. I'm just using the sponge that I use to apply my makeup. I think everything looks good. Okay, so I like to, it's dirty, don't judge me. I like to use these little triangular puffs to apply powder to my face, this powder specifically. And I pack it on my sponge and then I tap here, or press really, here and here. That's where the ugly shine is the worst on my face. Now, if you don't have oily skin, you could skip this step. You could use a nice fluffy brush and just do a light dusting of powder. Totally up to you. But I'm doing what works for my oily skin. So pat that into my forehead, going back in for my chin. and my smile lines a little bit. Now with whatever's left on the sponge right now, I drag it down my neck. Because my neck is always white, I always apply foundation to it. And I don't want the foundation to wear funkily or rub off as the day wears on. So now I'm gonna dip back in and tap off anything that's excess into the lid. And I'm gonna start pouncing it. I start down here and then work my way up. I avoid my under eyes. I am 44 and so are my under eyes. And powder under there is not a cute look. So I avoid my exact under eye when I'm powdering. And then over my nose. And then just whatever's left on my sponge, I'll tap all the other places except under my eyes. I think when you're a dry skin person, you want glow all over. And when you're an oily person, you tend to want more matte kind of all over. I like the ability to mattify my entire face and then go in strategically with highlighter. So that's what works for me. Now, I always have this one spot right here that the powder doesn't really go onto, but perhaps a little bit of it did. And I'll use this on my under eye area. Just a tiny bit, nothing too crazy, just to take off some of the shine that concealer can leave behind, which isn't much because that concealer is amazing. It's so, so, so good. Now we're going to talk about contour. Typically speaking, contour is shadow. So like where the shadows would fall on your face if you were in the light. Generally that's just under your jaw and your chin, under your cheekbones, under your nose, places like that. And when you do contour, you want a cool toned powder or cream. I'm gonna use all powders today. I just figured it would be easy to stick to the same thing across the board. And I love this Kevin Aqua medium sculpting powder. It looks very light and washed out in the light, but this is a very good shade for me, whether it's winter or summer and I'm tan or not. Obviously, when I'm not tan, I have to go in a little bit lighter with the powder. And when I'm tan, I can go in a little bit heavier. So I like a small brush. I use most of the time, or for months anyway, I've been using the Refer number 4. I like the angle, I like that it's small. I just use like the one edge right here and do it that way. But I thought about trying this brush and I like this very much. I can use the entire surface area of the brush without worrying about it being too much. Okay, and I start at the top of my ear and bring it at a slight angle under my cheekbone, or really kind of on my cheekbone, just under. And I keep it back. I don't drag it down too far because it will drag your face down, and I don't want that. Now on this side, you can already see what looks like contour. I have a very heavy shadow on this side of my face. So I match up the contour on this side with the natural shadow. Otherwise, it looks really messy and like I didn't pay attention to where I was applying product. And that's why I apply my contour at an angle like this on both sides. And then I'm just gonna buff, buff, buff. And again, keeping it back here pretty far. It doesn't even come down to the outside edge of my eye. I wanna give my face a lifted look, not a dragged down look. Again, this is what works for me. Your face shape is different, so you have to think about where you would put the product on your face. If you have a much rounder face, you would want to bring it down farther and at an angle, like even maybe this far, because it will help give you the look of sharper cheekbones, which, I mean, who doesn't want that? Now, I always contour my lips. I have smaller lips than I wish I had, so I contour them to fake having a larger looking mouth. I like this flat smudger brush. This is the number 221 Eyes Smudger from It Brushes for Ulta. And I'm gonna dip into the contour shade and I start right under my lip. Just like that. I don't usually make that face though. And then I run it all along the underside of my lip. And I turn it so that the brush is vertical and I really just blend it right here because that's where I want the most shadow, or I want my lip to look the biggest. And I dip back in just a little because I forgot what I was doing. And do right next to it. I don't bring it all the way out to the corners of my mouth. From what I understand, and I'm not an expert, I'm not. I never had any kind of training. I just really love playing with makeup. So from what I've researched and read and seen and all the things, as we age, our mouth tends to get thinner this way, but wider that way, which is a significant sign of age. So I don't exaggerate the wider. Now with a little bit more on my brush, I'm gonna do my Cupid's bow. And then just a small amount on either side. And then with my ring finger, I apply very little pressure and just kind of blend it in a little bit. In order for contour to work, there has to be light and dark. So you can't just put a line and expect it to work. You have to have the contrast. So that's why I do a little bit right here and then not here, because this lightness like immediately makes my upper lip look a little bit bigger. So going back to the bigger brush, I'm gonna dip into that contour shade and I'm gonna run it just under my jawline and my chin. If you make that face, you can see if it's blended or not. I'm gonna add bronzer to it so it will look more blended when I'm done. And that's where I put contour on my face. It's what works for my face shape now. 6 months, a year, 5 years from now, it could be completely different. But at the moment, this is what works. So now we'll talk about bronzer. The rule for eyeshadow brushes, size and color, kind of applies to face brushes as well. The darker the shade, the smaller the brush. The lighter the shade, the larger the brush, as well as surface area. You know, how big of a space are you going to be applying these products to? For bronzer today, I chose my Huda Beauty Soft Radiant Bronzing Powder in the shade 04 Deep Tan. I love this. I have 2 shades of this. I have the light and I have this one. And my absolute go-to, without hesitation or doubt, is my Rephr number 5 brush. I already used it. This is what I think excellent for bronzer, because I do put bronzer in a much bigger spot than I do contour. A bigger brush works out really well for that. And again, I start towards my hairline and then come in. Wherever you place your brush down first is where most of the product is going to land. And you know, you want to be able to blend and do all the things. So I start back towards my hairline. And this I kind of bring down a little bit, but then in towards my at the apples of my cheek because I don't want to drag my face down. I also put my bronzer, blush, and highlight, or bronzer and blush anyway, much higher than I see a lot of people do. Again, I'm 44, so I'm quite a bit older than a lot of people on YouTube. So it definitely just kind of gives a bit of a lift to your face. Same thing on the other side, starting towards the back. And I'm holding my brush down towards the end of it because I just want light pressure. I don't want anything too harsh and crazy. And I always do my forehead where the sun would hit me if I were outside in it and didn't pile on all the sunscreen. I love that these bronzer shades are buildable. They blend out beautifully. You can build them up. They're so nice. You'll notice I avoided doing this area on both sides of my face because I want that lifted look. We need the contrast between light and dark. So I use bronzer down to here and then here, but not in this area. There. And just a little under the chins, drag it down. And I'll sometimes just over my nose. I will sometimes deliberately put a lot so it looks like I've just gotten a fresh, sunburn turned tan. I think that's a super cute look, but it's not something I do all the time. Now for blush, I also chose from the Huda Beauty line, and this is the shade Caring Coral. Love, love, love this. This bronzer is the mini version, which I think is excellent, and it's the same size as the full-size blush. For blush, I use a much smaller brush. I love this Rephr number 4 brush for blush. I like that it's angled. I like that you can place it specifically and not have it end up blown out all over the place. So I'm gonna dip my brush in. And again, I'm gonna start back here, just a tiny bit of, not even like above, but like where my bronzer ends. A pretty good rule, if you don't know this already, is that your contour can touch your bronzer and your bronzer can touch your blush, but your blush should never touch your contour. Gotta keep them separated. That's where you get the lift and the smooth blend without things looking muddy and crazy. And I like quite a strong blush, and this I do bring in pretty much like in line with my pupil if I'm looking straight ahead. And I almost always just use a patting, tapping, pressing motion with blush, be it cream or powder. I find that that's what really works for me. And I like to bring it up around my brow. It's really pretty. Go back in for just a touch more because I really like blushing the tip of my nose. I have rosacea, so I never do blush over the bridge of my nose and on my cheeks in here because I don't like the look of the rosacea. Otherwise I would just not do anything to my face. If you don't have rosacea and you like that look, feel free. I think it can be super, super cute. I love the way it looks on other people, just not on me. Next up, we have highlight. I chose this Essence Pure Nude highlighter. And this just says, be my highlight. I really like a brush that is shaped like this, kind of like a teardrop, to apply highlight. It's nice and flimsy. It's not stiff, it's not packed. It's just really nice for highlight. So I'm gonna get that on my brush. And then again, starting back here, because that's where most of the pigment is gonna end up laying down, I do that kind of a C shape following along with my blush. and just get it on there. Same thing on this side. It's very, very pretty. And I take my teeny tiny Rose and Ben, what is this? It's the E27. I love this for highlighting my Cupid's bow and my nose and just below my eyebrow. So I've got some on there, and I'm going to use this on my Cupid's bow first. Go back in. I really like it on the tip of my nose, and then on the bridge of my nose. Let's get a little bit more. I don't put highlight up in here because my face is very textured there. I've got some wrinkles, some pores, all kinds of stuff happening, and I don't want it to look more than it is. So I don't highlight that portion. Just a little bit under my brow. Now, every time I do my makeup, I finish with this step. And I don't think you have to use this specific powder, though I do think it is incredible. It's the Dior Powder No Powder. Mine came broken. It's still broken. And I like to use this giant Rephr number 30 brush. It's super fluffy. And I really get in there with my brush into the powder. And then I start on my forehead, right in the center. This powder has a little bit of a sheen. It's not shiny, but it's enough that it makes my skin look like skin and not like I've just piled on a bunch of powder and made my face like flat. And you'll notice I never dusted off that Nakia Joy powder. This is where any excess of that will come off. I'm going to go off camera, finish up the last steps, brows, lips, mascara, my under eye, and then I'll come back and we'll wrap this video up. All right, so that wraps up Face Products 101, a video where I do my best to show you what works for my face. Hopefully will help you make some choices for your face. I really do just want to be helpful, so I hope I came across as helpful and not condescending and a know-it-all, because I never want to be that guy. Anyway, if you have any more requests like this, just leave it down below because I would be really happy to take a whack at it. I'm not a professional by any stretch of the imagination, but I love playing with makeup. And it's more fun when I can share it with you, or if you've got an interest in something specific, it's fun. All right, I hope you liked this video. I hope it was helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Be good, and remember to be kind to you.